What's up, people? Joe Bernstein here, and I'm excited to share with you today some insights, some thoughts I have, a little story about my own life, and about how I helped myself recently in the past week or so. So, I talk to people a lot about discipline and structure. I talk to people a lot about love, and not just professionally with my clients, but personally, these topics always come up. They're what I'm fascinated by, and they're what help liberate me. Is discipline and structure combined with freedom and flexibility. When they come in the right amounts, they create love, right? And this actually is something that tends to be true for love of oneself, but also in loving relationships and loving connections with community and with others that we're in partnership with. So the bottom line is, I want to tell you a little story about me over the last few weeks. I have, over the last few weeks, I really leaned into the holiday time. I was away for 2.5 weeks. I leaned into the fact that I was staying in someone else's house, and then I was on a road trip, and then I was on vacation, an Airbnb in New Orleans. And essentially, I allowed myself to have a little bit more flexibility in my life. I allowed myself a little bit more flexibility in my routines. For those of you who don't know me, morning routine is like a lifesaver for me. It's something that I latch onto like a safety raft. It's something that helps me get into the right state of mind, the right state of emotion, the right state of body, so that I can actually connect with myself, connect with others, have energy, have joy, have optimism and enthusiasm, as opposed to feeling tired, feeling frustrated, feeling pessimistic, disconnecting with people. So anyway, love my morning routines. And for years and years, part of my liberation is constantly working on and tweaking and optimizing my morning routine. So I let myself get pretty flexible with it. I still maintained every day some kind of movement, most days meditation. I maintained, having a healthy breakfast and hydrating. I did most stuff, but I got pretty loose. It got pretty flexible, right? I gave myself a lowest common denominator, lowest bar for my well-being, and I met it. And then as I got back to work, starting about January 6th, about a week and a half ago now, I really struggled last week. I struggled to commit to my 5 a.m. mornings. I struggled to commit to getting to the gym every day. There was a few days where it was raining, it was cold, and I just decided, let me sleep in a little bit more, and I'll do a little bit of yoga at home, or I'll do a short jog, or something of that nature. And it was in some ways really healthy for me. It helped me rest. It helped me reground. It helped me get back into, uh, my home life in a more gentle way. But in other ways, it was actually really destabilizing, because now we're talking about going on 3 or almost 2.5, almost 3.5, almost 4 weeks of being outside of my typical morning routine that helped me live my best life. And so what ended up happening was, the last part of last week, the weekend, and the early part of this week, I was actually having great experiences. I took over a position in the Mankind Project local leader body. Our first meeting went really well. My partner, my wonderful partner, Natalie, came home. She stayed out a little further, a little longer in Florida on the trip. She came home. We reconnected. We had some great times. I had an amazingly successful first week back of work with some new clients joining on and a lot of momentum. And so everything in my life really was awesome, but I felt flat. I even felt mildly depressed, what I would call a compressed emotional experience for me, not having many highs, not having many lows, just kind of being solidly in the middle with a touch of sorrow. That can be, to me, be depression. So essentially what ended up happening was, I realized that it'd been too long that I had been out of my complete set of discipline and structure. Now, what I'm getting at here is, I got back to it this week. I've been much more focused. I've been much more disciplined. I've been getting up at 5. I haven't been hitting the snooze alarm. I've been getting my meditation and my exercise in. And my experience of life is more powerful, more connected. I feel much more excitement. I feel much more focused. And I feel much more clarity and love for myself and for others around me. And I'm just happy. I find myself just instinctually feeling and thinking this morning, God, I love my life. Where last week, all these amazing wins were happening around me, all these beautiful things were happening around me, and I was just kind of there. So what I'm getting at is that part of having a great life is taking on the creator mindset. A creator provides themselves with the right amount of discipline and structure, the amount that's right for them. A consumer is someone who's always seeking for someone else's rules to follow. They're looking for someone else's system. They want to follow a pathway perfectly, but that's never quite right. So I'm often in this discussion with people who tell themselves or tell me, you know what, waking up super early, having a super disciplined routine, exercise in the morning, meditating in the morning, that just doesn't fit for me. It doesn't work for me. It feels like a bunch of punishment, feels like a bunch of discipline in the negative sense. But for me and a lot of people I know, it works really well. Right? And so I want to point the arrow towards your relationship with how you were raised. And when I say raised in quotation marks, who helped you create structure in your life, or who didn't help you create structure in your life? So what I'm talking about here is I, for example, grew up with parents that were so loving. They provided a lot for me, and they really loved me. I've never once in my life questioned if they love me. I've never questioned if they're proud of me. And I always knew they'd be there for me. But they had a household that was chaotic. Physical environment was chaotic. It was cluttered. It wasn't always the cleanest in the world. We had probably more space than we needed. We had more stuff than we needed, and stuff was just kind of everywhere all the time. And additionally, my parents didn't demonstrate much discipline or morning routine. They didn't demonstrate taking care of their bodies or their health or meditating or journaling or doing all these things that I do for well-being, and that I believe actually helped me find well-being. They didn't discipline us much. I wasn't punished much. I wasn't made to do chores. I wasn't asked to clean my room much. They didn't follow up to see if I'd done my homework, for example, right? They loved us in the way that worked for them. And they loved us in a way where actually me and my two sisters have really beautiful lives. And so they did a great job. But what they didn't do is give us much structure and discipline. So my life became chaotic. When I was in my mid-20s, as many of you know, I was on my way to 350 pounds. I was 340 pounds. I was in a retail career that I enjoyed at the time, but I knew there was a glass ceiling. I hadn't dated in years, and I was actually pretty miserable, even though I was in denial about it. But that wasn't the only thing that was chaotic. My room was never clean. I used to have to go buy new socks because I forgot to do my laundry, and like things were just chaotic. There were dishes everywhere. There was trash. It's like there was trash in my car. Nothing was clean and disciplined and organized or Zen-like. And so for me, self-love, liberation, giving myself the things that I need to feel great actually requires discipline. Discipline in ways that some people feel is restriction. You know, I'd been gaining a little bit of weight. And so yesterday I sat down and I wrote, what are some things that I can create boundaries around that I've loosened my boundaries on? Instantly, I feel better. What's up, Donnie? How you doing? Instantly, I felt better just for writing it down. Last night, I followed through. This morning, I was committed to my workout. I was committed to my wake up. I was committed to my meditation. I was committed to getting to work even before 9 a.m. When I don't have a client before 9 a.m., sometimes that's flexible, right? When I have a client at 10 or 11 as my first client, it can be flexible. So I made commitments and I stuck to them. And I feel more comfortable. I feel safer. I feel happier with myself, in my body, in my mindset, with my life. But if you had an experience growing up where you had parents, teachers, coaches, maybe a religious upbringing where there were lots of rules, there was lots of disciplines, there was lots of compressing of your experience, being told where to be and when to be there all the time, then maybe for you, it actually doesn't help you to create a specific morning routine. Maybe for you, it doesn't help you to create boundaries or barriers around food or around free time or around television, right? For me, it does. And for a lot of my clients, what we're doing is we're helping them become the creator in their life rather than the consumer. We no longer want to be just consuming other people's ideas of how we should live our life, whether that be our church, our synagogue, our parents, our school teachers, society. We're not consuming the structures and the disciplines that create our life. We're creating the structures and disciplines that are right for us. And that takes a lot of intuition, a lot of awareness, working on embodiment. It takes understanding of our emotions, our relationships. It takes understanding of our past and how we were taught to be. But essentially, Structure and discipline is not right for everyone all of the time. And freedom and flexibility and flowingness is not right for everyone all the time. A lot of clients come to me because they need to be more disciplined and more structured. A lot of clients come to me because they need to loosen up. They need to slow down. They need to get rid of the rules and the ideas that were enforced upon them by people in their life in the past or in the present that are compressing them and having them feel pinned down, having them feel or be totally disconnected from the greater vision for what's possible in their life, or totally disconnected from enjoying the beautiful life they already have. So again, a little bit of unstructured musings, if you will, on discipline and love. Again, for some of us, we feel much safer and more loved and more powerful and more creative and more generative and more connected when we have strict disciplines. I'm one of those guys. Some of us, we need to have more flexibility, more freedom, more flow. And at times, different parts of us need different things. Our work in this world to create a great life is to understand who we are, to understand what we need, and to constantly be working to tweak and to play with who we are, what we believe, what our boundaries are around our life, how we set up our world so that we can create what we want, so that we can have the relationships we want, so we can have the sense of well-being that we can have, that we're capable of creating. Life's too short to just be on autopilot. Life's too short to be looking for other people to create the rules for us, to create the structures for us, to create the disciplines for us, to create the beliefs for us. My suggestion, my ask of you is to think very critically about how you set up your life today and compare it to how their life was set up for you by people when you were younger, and see if there's any awareness, any new information, any new capacities or capabilities that you see in yourself that are possible if you make some shifts, make some changes. If this makes sense to you, drop an emoji below, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you have questions about what I shared here, I know I went a little long, please message me. I'd love to get into discourse about it. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. I'm going to keep creating. I'm going to serve my clients. I'm feeling wonderful. Thank goodness I'm back to my structure, my focus, my disciplines. I'll see y'all very soon. Peace.